Most Christians are navigating their finances with a broken theological map. Half of them believe the Bible teaches that wealth is a sign of God's blessing, that financial prosperity reflects spiritual faithfulness. The other half believe the Bible condemns wealth as spiritually dangerous, that money and faith are fundamentally in tension. Both are wrong, not partially wrong, not wrong in emphasis, wrong in the underlying argument they are making from the text. The Bible does not teach a prosperity theology. It also does not teach a poverty theology. It teaches a stewardship theology, and the practical implications of that distinction are the difference between a household that accumulates well and one that never starts. By the end of this video, you will understand the complete biblical theology of wealth, why both common Christian frameworks misread the text, and the specific financial mandate that stewardship theology produces. The prosperity gospel argument is built on a misreading of covenant blessing texts. In the Mosaic covenant, Deuteronomy 28, Leviticus 26, material blessing is promised in response to national covenant faithfulness. The texts are law given to Israel in a specific covenant context. When preachers extract these promises and apply them universally to individual financial outcomes, they are removing a covenant text from its covenant context. The poverty gospel argument is built on a misreading of 1 Timothy 6:10 and the rich young ruler. 1 Timothy 6:10, an epistle, apostolic instruction, the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. The love of money, not wealth, the disordered heart orientation toward money that displaces God from the center of trust and devotion. The rich young ruler in Mark 10:17 through 22 narrative, Jesus tells a specific man to sell everything and follow him. This instruction was given to one person whose wealth was specifically his idol. Jesus did not tell Zacchaeus to sell everything. He did not give this instruction universally. He gave it personally to a specific man with a specific heart condition. Building a universal theology of wealth avoidance on a specific personal instruction is not careful exegesis. What does Scripture actually say about wealthy people? Genesis 13:2, narrative. Abram was very wealthy in livestock, in silver, and in gold. No condemnation, a statement of fact about a man God called and commended. Job 42:10-12, narrative. The Lord restored Job's fortunes and gave him twice as much as before. Wealth restoration as part of God's vindication. Luke 19:1-10, narrative. Zacchaeus was a chief tax collector, by definition wealthy. Jesus did not tell him to give everything away. Zacchaeus voluntarily gave half his possessions to the poor and repaid fourfold what he had taken fraudulently. Jesus' response was affirmation, not correction. Matthew 25:14-30, narrative teaching, the parable of the talents. A master distributes talents, a unit of currency equal to roughly 15 to 20 years of wages, to 3 servants. 2 invest and double their amounts. The master's response, "Well done, good and faithful servant." The 3rd servant buries his talent. He returns only what was given. The master's response is explicit condemnation. "You should have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received what was mine back with interest." Jesus is not describing the buried talent as safe or neutral. He is describing it as failure.
The minimum acceptable standard, in the parable's own logic, was bank deposit interest. The servant who buried his talent received the same judgment as the one who squandered it. The biblical theology of wealth is stewardship theology. Deuteronomy 8:17-18, law, Mosaic covenant context. Do not say to yourself, "My power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me." But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth. The capacity to generate wealth is a gift. The wealth generated is a stewardship. The owner is God. The household is the manager. 1 Timothy 6:17-19, an epistle, apostolic instruction to wealthy believers. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. Paul does not tell wealthy believers to become poor. He tells them three things. Do not trust in wealth. Trust in God. Do good and be generous. The wealth is a resource for generative action. Be willing to share. Wealth held with an open hand, not a closed fist. That is stewardship theology. The wealth is real, legitimately held, and rightly used. The orientation toward it is the variable. Here is the framework stated plainly. The Bible does not condemn wealth. It condemns 5 specific misuses of wealth: the love of money, the disordered heart orientation that makes wealth an idol. 1 Timothy 6:10. Trust placed in wealth, mislocating security. 1 Timothy 6:17. Wealth obtained through exploitation, the Neshek model from EP 13, Proverbs 22:7. Wealth that substitutes for generosity, the rich fool who built bigger barns and died without being rich toward God, Luke 12:21. The buried talent, in action with what has been entrusted, Matthew 25:25 through 27. The Bible affirms wealth rightly built, rightly held, and rightly used. It commands generational transfer. It commands investment and multiplication. It commands generosity. That is the theology this series has been building from. Not prosperity gospel, not poverty gospel, stewardship theology, with all the practical implications that follow. Here is what stewardship theology produces in practice. It removes the guilt around building wealth. The household that runs the EP20 system, funds the EP14 Roth IRA, eliminates the EP24 debt sequence, and builds the EP15 inheritance framework is not being materialistic. It is being a faithful steward of what has been entrusted to it. It removes the passivity around not building wealth.
The servant who buried the talent was not being humble. He was being unfaithful. Proverbs 13:22 commands the inheritance. The parable of the talents condemns non-accumulation of return. Inaction is not a spiritually safe posture. It frames generosity correctly. The generous household gives first, not from what is left over, because generosity is an act of stewardship, not a tax on surplus. 1 Corinthians 16:2 establishes the first allocation. Proverbs 3:9 establishes the first fruits principle. The generosity is not the evidence of wealth. It is the first output of the stewardship engine. It establishes the inheritance mandate as an act of worship, not an act of accumulation. Proverbs 13:22 is not a financial strategy. It is a description of what faithful stewardship looks like across generations. It grounds the entire framework of this series. Every episode, from the EP13 case against exploitative interest to the EP18 emergency fund to the EP25 variable income architecture, is an expression of stewardship theology applied to specific financial decisions. The household that understands stewardship theology builds, gives, multiplies, transfers, not because wealth is the goal, because faithfulness with what has been entrusted is the calling. Identify your inherited theology of wealth today. One question, answer it honestly. When you think about building significant financial wealth, what is your instinctive emotional response? If the instinct is guilt, you are operating with a poverty theology framework, whether or not you have named it. If the instinct is entitlement, you may be operating with a prosperity theology framework, whether or not you recognize it. If the instinct is responsibility, you are operating with a stewardship theology. The gut response does not determine the theology.
It reveals the formation, and the formation drives the decision. Most financial passivity in Christian households is not laziness, it is theology. A household that believes wealth is spiritually suspicious will not build it deliberately. The servant who buried his talent told the master exactly why. Matthew 25:25. I was afraid and went and hid your talent in the ground. Fear is a theology. Stewardship is the replacement. Now that the theological foundation is in place, stewardship theology, the complete framework, the practical system, the question every household eventually faces is what to do when the financial plan meets a crisis that no system anticipated. Job loss, medical emergency, the month when the architecture is tested by something it was not designed for. That is the next video. It is queued up right now.